Hey guys, coming at you again with me messing with my mic settings. Hopefully it's also a little bit better now. In my past video, I realized I was really quiet. I didn't realize I was really quiet. Hopefully that'll be fixed this time. I'm sorry that I keep messing with my settings, but I swear, sometimes Blue Yeti mics, you just gotta mess with it, and when you mess with it, it either ends up being a good thing or a bad thing. And I like to edit without my headphones on. I'm actually a huge not fan for headphones unless I'm out and about listening to music or working out or doing something else where I have to use headphones. So I know the editing people must be like freaking out, like, that's why it's always shitty. Well, I'm sorry, I really am, but I just don't like headphones. I never have since I was a kid. So, as always, hi, if you are new here, I make a new topic video or art video every Wednesday. And please like, comment, and subscribe because YouTube is dumb. And if you don't, then the algorithm likes to not have people get your videos. And then there's also things of saying certain words that don't want to get your videos out there. And that's not fun for a person like me who likes making topic videos and story times and things like that. Because I really feel like then we have to really censor ourselves and really think about what we have to say. And granted, I mean, if you're doing, like video essays, important content like that, then yeah, you need to be like very, clear and precise and stuff. But for me, I like my topic videos to be opinionated because I'm a very opinionated person. And so that being said, let's get into it. So this is going to be, oh, wrong one. I have my paper ASMR here. We're going to be talking about Patreon. And no, this isn't a shill. No, this isn't a begging video. I made a video about Patreon a couple years ago, and a lot of my older videos I kind of want to redo. Some of them I'm not. Like the really, really, really big ones, I'm not going to redo. There's no real point in that. My opinions have stayed the same. But there's some where just, I was very nervous. I was still, getting the swing of things. I was trying to understand things. And I didn't really like how I voiced many of my opinions, but something I do want to talk about is, like, supporting people. And I've talked about this before with, like, my tip jar stuff and my why I don't always tip people video and blah, 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 blah. But I really, really want to talk about Patreon right now. And it's not like I said, a shill like I was saying before. Because one of my biggest pet peeves has always been, and I think always will be, the people who don't understand that obviously not everybody has the money to support people now, especially now, and there's my cat, but hopefully he's not going to be too much of a chatterbox. But where was I going now? I gotta anyway, Patreon, supporting people, that's right. I hope you guys enjoyed that. But we're in a time right now, it's hard for everybody, and it's really hard, and people always ask, like, how can you how can you support people, how can you do things like that, we live in a time now where free media is huge, and a lot of people don't seem to realize most of the stuff on the internet is free. There are things behind paywalls, there are things you have to pay for, obviously, but with websites like YouTube, like Twitter, like Instagram, like DeviantArt, like Fairfinity, like Tumblr used to be, but yes, while there are premium services and there are ads and there are things here and there, a lot of it is free. And that's not how it used to be. Nobody makes artists. Nobody makes artists. That's better. They never make them, forcibly post your stuff online. Forcibly post it, forcibly work. Many people who do art as just fun hobbies and careers, nobody's making them do that. And there are many artists out there who don't post online, who don't post in shops, who don't do things like that. They just it's their little thing, and that's personal for them, and that's fine. But we live in a place where it's free media, but the problem is because that so many people have been able to make these things their jobs, to make this supporting content their jobs and not just hobbies anymore. While there are, a small majority of people who this is just a fun hobby and this is things like that. Like YouTube for me is a fun hobby that I sometimes get paid in. It's not my job. It's not my career. This is not, I hate to say it. And that's because, well, for me at least, and I've said this before, I know it might sound like a little bit of a nitpick or, whatever, I bring it up all the time, but I don't make enough to do that, which is why people ask me, like, why don't you do more videos? Why don't you do this and that? Why don't you hire that? I don't make enough off of YouTube to warrant it. I make my money off of my other revenues, And because the fact that I make my money off those other revenues, I'm able to give people free content. I'm able to do YouTube videos. I'm able to, have free time to do art. I'm able to do things like that. I'm able to start putting things towards like my shop and things like that, because right now this is my job. And with things going on right now, it's going to be my only job for a while. I was looking for part-time work, as you guys know, if you've been here a while, and that kind of, spread the brakes like a lot of people. But people want good quality, high quality stuff because that's what they're used to seeing. How many times have you seen a YouTube video where the video is kind of quality, the audio's quality, and then you end up not really watching it, even though it's a good video? It's really sad, but it's true, and that's because we're used to quality. But the problem with quality is quality takes time, money, and effort, a lot of some really big YouTubers I really enjoy who do like video essays, really in-depth editing, really things like that. They have editors to do it for them, and they pay them well. So that way, they make money off YouTube. They make money off their other revenues. And the person doing the job, because it is a job at that point, when you sit down and you're spending anywhere from 12 to 40 hours a week working on something, anything, that's a job. And we want that good quality, but we can't afford it. And a lot of it is free. Most of YouTube is free. People complain about ads, and to be fair, I do too. One of my biggest pet peeves is when I see a 10-minute video have 8 ads on it, because then I can't watch the video, and realistically, not everybody can be a paid member for people who do the membership. I don't do it right now. I might in the future, but again, with how it is right now, it's not really worth it for me. That's also just extra stuff on my plate that I don't need right now. But that's things that you see people do that, and then you don't pay for the ads, but the creator's still getting paid, so they can put the time and the money into that. Because while we would love to live in a perfect society where money doesn't rule the world, that's not how the world works, sadly. People need to eat, people need to sleep, people need to have extracurricular activities, even if right now they're a little limited. It's things like that, because we can't be slaves to our work, because when we're slaves to our work, then we lose the passion, we lose the thing, and then the burnout kicks in. And then when the burnout kicks in, that's when you see people leave. There were so many channels I loved to death, and stuff happened, or they got burnt out, or they were being overworked and not being paid enough, and then they had to supplement their income because they had to survive, and their stuff suffered from it. And the people getting the free content complain that, well, this isn't like how it used to be. This is how this and that. Well, so-and-so does this. Well, so-and-so does that. Well, so-and-so. And there's all this comparing going on. And that's a big problem. We can't have these comparing things when you see things. There's some YouTubers out there that, yes, they make their living off of YouTube. They do this. They make enough money. They can support their things. Then there's the normies. There's the normies out there that do just do this for fun. Just do this, to have an outlet, to do something. And they don't have an obligation anyway to do that. But when you want professional editing, professionally software, professional, sound audio, that's great, Michelle. But you go through all that, and they expect you to do it for free because, well, if it's your passion, you do it for free. A lot of people don't have that luxury. Very few people have that luxury to do that, And granted, while I don't make a lot off of YouTube, it does help me. It does network me. It does get me out there. So in the end, I do end up getting, more donations on Coffee, more Patreons to my patron. I get, when I open up for commissions, I have more followers on stuff like that. I get more things like that. And it does help, I'm not in it for the money. And I've always said, when you start a YouTube channel or you start anything online, you should not start it to be like, I'm going to be like so-and-so. I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm going to be a You can have that aspiration, you can have that goal, and you can have that dream. That's a good dream to have, but you need to have more in it, in your heart and in your passions, than simply looking at the dollar signs. Realistically, yeah, a lot of people want to be self-employed, but there's also a lot of people that can't be self-employed. They don't have the discipline. That's not a bad thing, but there are people out there who need routine. They need stuff being told, which is why also with what's going on right now, a lot of people are going stir crazy because I know a lot of people who are in really lucky predicaments. Well, while they're at home, they are still getting paid, and some of them don't have to work. And my cat's meowing again. The joys of doing your audio and workspace in your living room. But come here, boy. And anyway, it's because of things like that where they have nothing to do. They're like, I have my hobbies and I have my things like that, but I don't want to do that for 6 to 8 hours a day. You know, I didn't realize how much my job or school or this and that ate up my time, so that when I had my things, I was able to, like, you know, even it out. And that's why it is amazing that we have things like Patreon, like Subscribestar, like I can't say it, but there's a certain one that some people who do some not safe for word here items, you know, that you can support people through. We have Buy Me a Coffee, we have PayPal Donate. I know there's so many others out there, and you know, every little bit helps, and every little bit does go a long way in helping people grow, in helping people get better. There's a lot of people I know, a lot of YouTubers that they had Patreons to start out with, and then when things got pretty good, they didn't need it anymore. And they were like, I don't need to do this anymore. I make enough of my money off of X, Y, and Z. And that's great for them. And then they can give back. And they also talk about how, like, with that money, I was able to put things back into it. I was able to upgrade my software. I was able to upgrade my audio. I was able to hire a, like, you know, for some people who like who aren't artists, who hire like merch designers and artists and stuff like that, you know? And you end up going through this cycle where it is an amazing thing out there. The problem is, though, a lot of people don't see the numbers as people. And that's an issue where a lot of people do, where, you know, you kind of lose content there. But it's when, you know, you're at that middle ground, because obviously, I know it sounds bad to say, but when you get like in the millions, unless someone's been there from the long haul and they've been very constant and they've been there from the beginning, you're probably not going to recognize a lot of usernames. You're probably not going to recognize a lot of people, a lot of characters, a lot of things like that, except for the people that kind of go above and beyond. And that's kind of the sad truth, because while the numbers aren't important, they are. But the problem is when people get clouded in that. You know, I can't tell you how many times I've seen people who have these breakdowns and they cry and they sob and they're like, I can't do so and so, and I have 800,000 subscribers. Why am I not making $800,000 on Patreon? Why am I not getting a coffee every video? Why am I not? My PayPal donate is there. If you guys love and support me, why? I hate those. I hate those videos. They get under my skin. They make me feel skeevy, and it sounds like it's begging. I've been in tough positions. I've had to ask for help, and it is hard for me to ask for help. It's always been hard, and I've only done that when shit hit the fan. But even when I've done that, I know in my head, and I know in real life that realistically, not every one of my subscribers has $1 to throw. Some people might think that's dumb, but it's true. I live on a pretty tight budget. I'm pretty good at managing things. I know a lot of people who have to too. If your leisure money is only $40 a week, or $40, I should say $40 a week is a lot of money. $40 a month, that's not a lot of money for you time, you know? And you shouldn't ever feel bad because you can't support somebody. That's something else I see. I see comments all the time. I see people say, like, I'd love to support, but I'm just not financially stable enough to be able to do something every month. I'm not able to do this every single time. I'm not ever... And that's great. That's great. But you shouldn't feel bad about that. I'm very happy that you feel like you want to, but you shouldn't do that. It's like, I was watching a YouTuber stream recently, and someone was talking about how, like, I just lost my job, but they wanted to do a what's the word? A super chat. They wanted to do a super chat, and they're like, oh, I just got fired, but I wanted to, like, always say, like, blah, 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 blah. And the YouTuber got, like, really upset. It's like, no, if you just lost your job, you let me PayPal you the money back. And that YouTuber did on the stream, because it's like, it feels really uncomfortable when people are in a tight spot, but they still want to support us, because you see these people. You see the people having the breakdowns on Twitter. You see the people having these things and that. And I'm not saying the breakdowns aren't valid, but in most cases, not all, but most, I do personally believe, in my honest opinion, that a lot of it's over-exaggerated, because a lot of people get used to a cushy lifestyle, and then when that lifestyle gets thrust out from under them, they don't really know how to deal. And their way of dealing is, instead of being like, well, that sucks, I gotta buckle down, I gotta do some stuff I don't want to do, it's begging. And that's where we get to. And people don't understand that, there's free content out there and people want that. So what's the moral of this topic, this ramble, this rant? It's that, yes, while supporting artists and supporting things like that are great and amazing, many of us do not want you to go broke over it. There are so many other ways you can do it. Likes and reshares on Twitter, interaction, favorites on DeviantArt, favorites on Fur Affinity, comments on Fur Affinity. Sometimes it's hard. I'm also really bad at this. I'm really bad. Sometimes I have nothing to say. Sometimes I'll see some really cute art and I'm just like, oh, like, because I don't know what to say, and I don't want to type out this whole thing for a picture I just kind of like. But that little like on Twitter, that little like on Instagram, that little comment, those things those are free things to do that do help interaction and help with the overall algorithm of these stupid websites, so people can see your stuff and they can spread it that way, and it helps when you have things like that. So I've been seeing people do funny things now where they're just typing random things because they want to get content out there. And that's a good way to help support people, to help things get through, is to do that, to do the interactions, to do the sharing, to do the comments, and that helps in such a long way, because then it gets our reach out there to be able to do more for people. But at the same time, a lot of people need to understand that not everybody has Jenna Marbles money. Not everybody has Bailey J money. Not everybody has Casey Golden, Drawing with Waffles, things like that. And that's not to be mean to those artists, but they are bigger artists who do really well, and they can make most of their income off of just YouTube. But they also do other things and work hard too, so they can do their time and their effort to do that kind of stuff for you. And then you have the smaller channels. You have, the Vexingly Yours, the Ponder Sprockets, the Zodiac Lords, even though I know he doesn't post much. We have Holly Brown, like my friend. We have Hopeless Peaches. We have all these people out there that are doing content, and we aren't making a lot from it, but we're doing it because we like doing it, and we like sharing the content to help things get out there. And that's the best thing we can do next to supporting things, because websites like Patreon, like Ko-fi, like things like that, they have made it so many artists and many creators can do this. This can be our jobs, and that is because of you. But in the same time, we want to get more things out to you, and while I understand the point of paywalls, I don't like when things are strictly behind a paywall. It's why it's always good to have a 50-50 rule. With my paywalls on my Patreon tiers, just for me, currently, I have you get all the artwork first, unless it's a commission. You get discounts, you get first dibs. The only things you really get that are limited right now is every now and then I might do an extra ramble video that's just Patreon exclusive. You get a once a month speed paint that's not public. I've had a couple people who were like, oh, I found it in this playlist. And I'm like, yeah, it's in the playlist because they need to watch it. If I private it or put in an unlisted playlist, it's hard for me to manage. So they're out there, they're just not public. And, you also get, if you're one of the top tiers, you get a guaranteed commission every month. And if I have a hard month, you get an upgraded commission that following month. So the money stacks. And those are things I can give back to people, but I've been posting the Patreon speed paints recently for the rewards for patrons. I've been doing more to do that. I've been doing more interactions. I have my Patreon only Discord because I have that so that it's easier for me to manage, and there's things like that I feel like that's fair enough to be behind a paywall. But when I see people who do stuff like, oh yeah, only one video I make is public and I post 18 to 19 on my Patreon and it's only behind the highest tier. Or, oh, here's a tiny snippet of an art piece, the rest's all on Patreon. If you want to see all my artwork and all the English, then it's not really fair, because then it does feel like you're being a little exploitative. Yes, you should have exclusive things behind paywalls, but they shouldn't be your sole thing, because then your interactions are going to be bad. How many people are going to want to see a tiny little cropped window? Realistically, not a lot. How many people are going to want to see one video when they know you make 15 or 20? Not a lot. They're going to be really upset and really angry, and it's going to seem more money hungry. And then they use the excuse of well, I'm getting paid for it, so it's okay. It's not okay, though, because then you're not getting your reach out there. And that's just how I feel about it. You know, I feel like you should have a 50-50 rule or a mostly free a little bit rule. So like, what? No, 60-40? No, it's still pretty high. It's still pretty high. Let's go with like 80-20. You know, like 20% behind a paywall, but 80% of it's still free. I think that's fair. Yeah, that sounds good. So with that being said, time to transition. Thank you, as always, to my Patreon patrons for helping support this video. And as always, guys, I will see you next time. Bye.